And I, Harshvardhan, are your host for today. In an age where algorithms are teaching algebra and AI is correcting essays, we need to root education in timeless Indian wisdom. Has never been more urgent or more refreshing. For centuries, India has nurtured a tradition where learning was not just about marks or matrices, but about man making, a blend of intellect, ethics, and inner balance. From Takshila to Tagore, our heritage champions holistic learning where Vidya works hand in hand with Vinaya. As we reimagine higher education on national and global platforms, it's time we don't just export engineers and coders, but also values, visionaries, and thinkers grounded in dharma and driven by seva. After all, true education isn't about filling minds, but lightening them, something our tradition understood long before smartphones did. We would like to take the honor of introducing our first panelist, Dr. B. Jagdishwar Rao, and request Sir to come onto the stage. If science had a rock star, this man would not carry a guitar. He'd carry a pipette and a microscope. Let me introduce you to Professor B. Jagdishwar Rao, Vice Chancellor of the University of Hyderabad, a renowned biologist, institution builder, and a passionate science educator. A National Science Talent Award, PhD from IISc, and postdoctoral researcher at Yale Medical School. He spent 2 years, 2 decades at TIFR Mumbai, later moving to ISUR Tirupati as senior professor and chair of biology. He holds fellowships from all three National Science Academies of India and has received the prestigious J.C. Bose Award with over 160 high-impact international research papers spanning genome biology, theoretical biology, chemistry, and physics. Beyond the lab, he is a driving force behind policy making in science education, former chief editor of the Journal of Biosciences, and a vibrant advocate of interactive, hands-on learning with a mission to spark curiosity in young minds across the country. He doesn't just decode life, he designs how we learn to live it. Now we are happy to introduce our second panelist, Dr. Kalidindi Satyanarayana, and request Sir to come onto the stage. Some people build structures, but this man builds institutions, bricks, aggregate, steel, and system, processes, and culture. Presenting Dr. Kalidindi Satyanarayana, the distinguished director of IIT Tirupati. A civil engineer who began his academic journey at IIT Madras, he went on to earn his MS and PhD in construction engineering and management from Clemson University, USA. He has served IIT Madras since 1991, contributing deeply to project management, construction productivity, and public-private partnerships. and even played a vital role in the construction projects of IIT Indore, IIT Jodhpur, and IIM Trichy.
He is also the chairman of PMI India's Academy Advisory Group, sits on the boards of several national bodies and private companies, and has published extensively in construction and management sciences. From blueprints to boardrooms, he blends engineering with execution and policy with purpose.
We are delighted to introduce our third panelist, Professor P.J. Narayanan, and request sir to come onto the stage. If artificial intelligence had a passport, it would probably be stamped by Professor P.J. Narayanan, a pioneer in computer vision and graphics. Professor Narayanan has been the dynamic director of IIIT Hyderabad since 2013, and as per my sources, he is the youngest director of it. With B.Tech from IIT Kharagpur, and I've heard he understood every lecture by every professor, and a PhD from the University of Maryland, he helped build 3D dynamic captures systems at Carnegie Mellon before returning to revolutionize India's visual text space. He founded India's largest CDVR research group at CDIT, IIT Hyderabad, and served as the president of ACM India, winning accolades like the ACM Presidential Award and INAE Fellowship. From pixels to policies, he's coding India's future one breakthrough at a time.
Now we are delighted to introduce our fourth panelist, Professor T. Kishan Kumar Reddy. I request you to please come on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Professor T. Kishan Kumar Reddy, the academic powerhouse who probably authored more research papers than there are cups of tea or coffee in a college cafeteria. Currently Vice Chancellor of JNTU Hyderabad, he holds degrees from Osmania University, IIT Madras, and Drexel University, plus a postdoctorate from the Southern Illinois University. With over 30 years of experience, he's led universities across India, driven top research projects, including a NASA-funded one, and built international ties from Sweden to Singapore. He's also crafted innovative courses in aerospace, defense laws, and preparing India's future leaders of sky and sea. Not just an academic giant, he's been behind many important laws in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. If education had a superhero, it'd be him, balancing research, leadership, and lawmaking with flair. So let's give him a warm welcome to Professor T. Kishan Kumar Reddy, a true trailblazer shaping the future of higher education.
We are delighted to introduce our fifth panelist, Professor M. Krishnamurthy, and request sir to come onto the stage. They say physics is tough, but try doing it with lasers, quantum particles, plasma, and a spiritual compass, and still have your head intact. That's Professor M. Krishnamurthy for you. A rare blend of scientific genius and a science fireplace. From crawling marathons to sprinting ahead in atomic, molecular, and optical physics, Professor Krishnamurthy's journey is both an awe-inspiring and quite frankly exhausting. Because how does one person manages to do so much? He started with chemistry, flirted with quantum simulations, coded laser plasma physics, and ended up with pioneering India's push into tabletop particle accelerators. Because why build a lab when you can build a mini universe? Currently helming TIFHE Hyderabad, he is not just building institutions, but building scientists, igniting minds, and proving daily that humility and high energy physics can coexist. So buckle up as we welcome the man who makes atoms dance, laser sings, and student think. The incredible, the unstoppable, Professor M. Krishnamurthy.
We are happy to have Professor L.S. Ganesh as the moderator of the panel discussion. If wisdom had a playlist, strategy had a rhythm, and leadership wore a smile, it would sound like Professor L.S. Ganesh, sweetly called by his friends LSG sir.
So, ladies and gentlemen, get ready to be inspired by the professor who teaches with precision, mentors with purpose, and occasionally grooves to jazz. Please welcome the legend himself, Professor L.S. Ganesh or LSG Sir. Now we request Professor L.S. Ganesh to conduct the panel discussion.
Check, check. Thank you very much for the introduction, Rishki and Harsha. I'm also very happy to, especially to the young people out there, um, to inform you that we have a very distinguished set of very senior educationists and leaders in thought of our country. I'm starting with Professor Mahendra Reddy on my left, who was the immediate previous Vice Chancellor and is a key advisor to the entire IFHE group now. And then we have Professor Rajsekharan Pillai. Rajsekharan Pillai, sir, in case you do not know, is in some sense the father of open education in India. He headed the Indira Gandhi National Open University, and today we can all proudly say that his efforts have seeded the largest open education system in the world. Okay. And in the morning, I was sharing. I don't mind sharing it again. It was a very interesting thing in which he said a great grandfather and his great grandson took the degree from him. Okay, so the equity and inclusivity in education, I think the seeds were sown by Professor Pillai. Then we have, of course, we have Dr. Prasad, who's our very own IFHE colleague. He will be talking in a session later. And we have Srimati Sobarani ma'am, who's the chairperson of our group. And then, of course, we have our head here. Of course, we have MBR, who's one of the coordinators along with Sajeev. Three of us have worked together. If you can use the euphemism, three musketeers. Okay. So then we have Professor Munawar, who's heading the architecture school. We have Professor Shailajan, who's heading the social science school. We have Professor Narayana, who's heading the tech school. And then we have another friend. In fact, we were joking around a little bit after lunch. We have a small IIT Madras mafia here, actually. So, of course, if I may say so, because the next person is Srikant, Dr. Srikant Sundararajan. He's one of the most sought after advisors in entrepreneurship and startup, works extremely closely with T Hub here in Hyderabad, and is a most sought after person in institutional development and computer science programs also. He has worked very closely on computer science program, and more importantly, he is associated with our institution as a key member of the strategic planning and implementation advisory committee of our institute's entrepreneurship, innovation and entrepreneurship council. So he's directly connected with our institution also. Then we have Professor Venugopal, and Venugopal is the director of IBS. And then we have Dr. Sudhakar Rao, who promotes the entire branding of the fight. Okay? So, of course, the last person is Mrs. Usha, Dr. Usha Srikant. She's also come here. Many of them are friends, and we are very glad that they're come here. Now, for the panel itself, I'm sure all of you would have read the title, Seeding Indian Wisdom. You know, the theme is Seeding Indian Wisdom. So the first question that crossed my mind when I was suggesting the topic, of course, MBR, Bhaskar Rao, Sanjeev and I were talking about this. And we were toying with words. And suddenly it just crossed my mind that seeding Indian wisdom would be a very useful kind of and quite exciting also. Because the question somebody can ask us, well, why the hell should you seed Indian wisdom across the globe? I have a single answer. You have to seed Indian wisdom behind the globe because every one of our prayers ends with Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. This is very, very important because our nation, in terms of its thought and existence, has always valued the idea of Shanti uppermost. And saying that, I think, characterizes a fine human existence. So I hope the topic is justified. Krishnamurthy sir, Narayan sir, Vijay sir, Kishan and Satya. Okay. That's the justification for the topic. So, and I think it's a strong justification because we are living in a world which has been tormented by divisiveness and parochialism and whatnot, and it's very sad. So I thought it's a good occasion for us to have some of the finest people we can think of in this part of the country to come and share thoughts around this idea. Okay. So I've given you the answer of why seeding Indian wisdom. I hope the answer is acceptable. Not a bad answer, at least. But if you wish to add something where you feel there are other reasons why we should seed Indian wisdom across the globe, I'll be very grateful to that. So that's my first question. I'll start from left to right first. I start with Professor Krishnamurthy, the physicist actually.
Thank you very much for this fantastic topic. At least in my experience, when you go around the world and see, a lot of time education is more or less secular. Is probably more in our culture that education is more for.
I hope you got it. Education is more for giving. Okay.
So it's not just to make a livelihood, but it's to actually make a life. Philosophy of this kind is inbred in India from the topmost to the bottommost. If you average look at the philosophical mindset and the thought process from a small street side vendor to a middle level business people, especially or even the top brass. Philosophy is the underlying point, not just is to something. So that is, I think, is the major difference between what I see from the Indian point of view and to look at what is the Western point of view. And I think that's very, very important to make that connection because at the end of it, the materialism will take us somewhere, but it also leave us somewhere. And it is, I think, that philosophical mindset that bring us back to the question.
Thank you very much, sir. In the morning at the inaugural, we missed it. I was just making the statement that everybody better remember that the last degree to get the degree in philosophy. It's not in biology or economics or electronics. That's very, very important. So thank you for reiterating that. Narayana, your views on this, please. Why should we seek Indian wisdom?
Yeah, I think India is a civilization that has lasted for so many years, and any human civilization that has lasted so many years has a lot of wisdom, a lot of earned, acquired wisdom, which may not be easy to express and that needs to be spread. At the same time, in our traditional education system, many, many years, many hundreds or thousands of years ago, was this Gurukula system. That's one of our contributions to the pedagogical style. And what it really means is learning from a guru by observing, by participating, etc. So this is really the learning by doing, what we call learning by doing, rather than classroom teaching. You lead, the guru leads and you learn from it. One of, it is usually said the word guru is very difficult to translate to language, it's not into English like language. It's not teacher, it is not mentor, it is a combination of all these, somebody who guides you completely. So that is one component of education, and today if you see all the research-based corporate education should have this kind of outlook. This would be the method of doing. At the same time, I would like to also present Indian, seeding Indian idea from today's side. Today, India is obviously the largest, the most populous country in the world, with, and not just most populous, the very high percentage of youngsters. Our median age is maybe 25 point something, 26 or something, which means 50% or 40% of our, or 30 to 40% of our population is in colleges or schools, which means scale. I mean, how do we address this problem? How do you address education at scale? It was mentioned about open university. And today there are multiple online education is being promoted. I'm not sure of its effectiveness. The kind of online education we saw in the COVID years leaves a lot to be desired. This is our own personal experience. So, but at the same time, India has maybe 50 crore youngsters, more than 50 crore youngsters. How do we find ways to educate them effectively for not just a living but also for living? But that scale is a big problem today, and that if you don't address that today, what we call demographic dividend can become a strong negative for the country, and we are already seeing some of it, some of the impact of these youngsters getting into not productive activities because they just don't know what to do, and they are not very poor, but by and large, the economic status has improved. So I think letting education reach everybody, the scale of our society is a huge challenge that we need to look at, and that solution will come only from India because others don't have this problem.
So, but why should we see the Indian?
I think it's soon. I mean, many other countries also will reach this position. One, secondary, this has to be effective and cost effective. Effective in education as well as cost effective because of the scale, and that will have lessons for everybody.
So you feel we have sufficient health reasons to start teaching everyone?
Yes.
Great. Professor B.
It's actually a great caption for the discussion. Why should India seed? Why India? Why seed? When I say India, it is Bharat. It's not the glitter that I see around. It's the Bharat. And Bharat only is the template. That's the only template that can seed globally. And I must justify that. Bharat is nothing but wisdom, the true Bharat. True Bharat asked fundamental questions before the rest of the world woke up to it. Bharat asked, who am I? Bharat asked, what is this construct? Bharat asked, how do I relate myself to this construct? This is Upanishads and Vedas. And these are true inquiries. These were not emotional outcries. These are true inquiries of human mind towards knowing the unknowns. That inquiry gave rise to knowledge, which most of us now in India are not very familiar with. That's a separate issue. So that insight of our relation with the rest of the construct, I think is a very deep knowledge. Bharat asked a question of what is dharma? It's a very beautiful word. There is no equivalent in English. Bharat also asked what is jnana? Bharat also asked what happens when jnana fully matures, becomes bhakti. It is that transition that this civilization actually gave to mankind. I think these are very fundamental issues of humanity which Bharat inquired into, generated a template, which of course we lost track of it in the midway. It's a separate issue. And that template is perhaps now required to be rejuvenated, reactivated, reformatted, represented in the current context to bring us some good perspective of where we are and where we are headed in the current context of knowledge explosion, data explosion. So it's a very good topic, but it requires in-depth analysis, not emotional analysis, but real insightful analysis. That will be very useful exercise, not necessarily for India alone, but for the global template. I think.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that answer, because you've gone into the core of some of the thoughts I had in my mind. You brought in dharma and the construct, and how do we relate, what is my relationship? The fundamental questions. And it sort of is aligned well with the idea of peace, ultimately. Okay. But thank you very much for that, sir. We revisit this whole issue again. Kishan, What do you think are the good justifications for us to attempt to see?
Seeding Indian wisdom in national and global higher education. I can relate to my experiences when I was pursuing my PhD in the US. I went on a research scholarship on a NASA project. But unfortunately, being a mechanical engineer, I was given analytical chemistry and a research where I was looking at the hydrocarbon oxidation reaction mechanism. Something totally out of the blue for me, being a thermal fluid science. So I worked for 4 years. I didn't get any results. I was very, very, what do you call, anxious, and things were not going my way. But if you want to get your PhD, you have to publish 2 or 3 papers. I was unable to crack that, not getting insight in what I was doing. So, in my utter frustration and despair, I turned to the Bhagavad Gita for solace and what do you call inspiration. So then I might have read it 200, 300 times. Then I was reading, then I saw a lot of things which were a far transfer with thermodynamics. What is thermodynamics? Energy and its transformation. So you have a high grade energy becomes low grade energy. Entropy increases, the disorder increases. So, as a human being, if you look at the external world of physical phenomena, the high grade energy is transforming to low grade energy. You are advancing in science and technology, but with a consequent increase in the disorder of the system. What you're seeing now, climate change, you're exploiting Mother Nature in quest for GDP, what you call as gross domestic product. But in my assessment, it is gross destruction potential. You're totally spoiling Mother Earth, maybe the universe as well. You're going all over it, putting space, junk everywhere. So, how do you handle that? So, you look inward. When you're looking inward, the low grade energy is converting to high grade energy. The entropy decreases. That I call it religion. Re-ligate, to bind back with the original. So when you look inward, you're ascending the energy ladder, entropy decreases, there's order increases in the universe. That is my concept of religion. When you look outward and you're disturbing external world of phenomena, you're mastering the science and technology, making so many gizmos, making things convenient, but the cost of increasing the disorder in the universe. So diametrically opposite science and religion. So I have a copyright for this, and I have given lectures in ISRO, DRDO, various, and then I just found that this is all like a holistic thermodynamics. That we, the individual soul, is surrounded with material attributes, the body, and around that are the gross elements of nature. So this is the source function, which is God. This is the individual, heat engine. Karma is your sink. Source, sink, reservoir, and you're doing work. That's the concept of Sanatana Dharma. Everybody has to do their prescribed duty. So that high grade energy is converting to low grade, and entropy is increasing, causing disorder. So how do you get around that? You do a refrigerator, suck up your karma, negative energy, and throw it out. do that, the karma box balloon goes to zero, then time and space has no meaning. Operating individually with the universe, saying so that is nirvana. So this is the concept I sort of brought it into the form of a copyright. Then I factored in the law of action and reaction. It is not only attributed to the gross elements of material nature, but also your subtle elements, false ego, your mind, intelligence, etc. So things like gifted people, it's not something out of the blue, like clairvoyance, ESP, seeking revenge, it's all the karma principle. Maybe some other time I can give a lecture. Then Vastu makes sense, it's all energy. It's all energy, and you place something at a certain location. There's a lot of concept behind it. Just a matter of how you interpret it. Also, astrology. So when you were born and when you're doing something, what was the confluence of the elements, stars, cosmos, and you did something, registered in your karma supercomputer, and at an appropriate time it hits you back. So action reaction is going on. I want to escape with this. This is the linking with the infinity.
So you need an escape velocity.
Yeah. So that's yoga. Yoga is a part of the individual self looking. So this is one and this is zero. So if you want to, so 1 by 0 is equal to infinity. So if you want to get out of the rat race or the karma philosophy, link with the supreme whatever way you can. Use your karma is over and get to zero. Time and space has no relevance.
Kishan, you've taken it on to a totally different plane.
So speed of light may not be the ultimate speed. In my opinion, your mental faculties are much more higher energy than gross material. The speed of thought will be faster than the speed of light.
Absolutely.
So these are some of the things which I have. Then I have it in the form of a schematic diagram.
Okay.
And all these are energy entities. So everything is energy and is being transformed from one form to another. So we are all intimately connected to this cosmos, this infinite. So that's why this Hindu philosophy have Vasudhaiva Kutumbam. Everybody is the same. So you're not this, that, this region, etc. So that seeding, I think already our leaders are doing the best of their ability, saying that you're all one. Let us not fight. Let us be united, but we are, being walked down by so many other considerations. So I think we should look at the bigger picture and not at the small things. And there's a lot more to our ancient text to what means the I. And however, there are a lot of skeptics in our own ecosystem who like to put it down.
Yeah, that's why I said seeding Indian wisdom nationally.
Yeah. So finally, I want to give a punchline. कि मूर्ख क्या जाने मजहब की खबर.
Thank you very much. Of course, Ishan went into very abstract philosophical thought, interestingly tying it up with thermodynamics and energy, looking at the whole thing in the form of energy, which is actually one of the philosophical topics. Satya, what is your take on this? Why should we see the Indian wisdom everywhere, including inside ourselves?
Yeah, I think one of the main things is first of all see the Indian education system, as you said, must do it well and take it global. So we need to we have challenged the Eurocentric academic paradigms and that we all our models model now. So why does it matter? One is the holistic worldview. We have to takes, right? We take very material spiritual. That's underpinning that we need to bring. Another one is a very strong underpinning on the current context of sustainability technology. The top deep ecological consciousness, lot of wisdom and the way we act. Right? You go to Europe, not a single cardboard. Occasionally they find a wolf. It's a big news that it's wipe off the boat.
No, are they celebrating the finding of the woods or what?
Yeah, it's just not the nothing. Just destroyed the whole concept. So, in spite of our dense population, we can see still a lot of things. Right? So there is that deep philosophical consciousness and from the perspective of ethics and well-being also the values of innovation. I'm just putting some bullet points for discussion. And education as a liberation, where the education is seen as is a path to self-realization, right? Not just for where we carry. Right? Unfortunately, what we see today is a big push that more and more of our education should be forward, right? Which is a skill that we pick up for just going and having. That is a big push in that direction, which is going towards the point that we. At the same time, we should be careful about cultural. We need to promote very authentic way of the way the Indian artists. We find situations where they say anything that is said, oh, it is already there, 10,000 years back, or people have already do all this, it is all there, and so on. And that I think doesn't do well for promoting the authentic artists. So these are some of the things that we should be careful when we're doing this. And this is I think this is a big that there's a lot of things, but what have we been doing the last 1,000 years? Right? So this is where I'm talking about bringing back the and then taking away from the Eurocentric, completely Eurocentric based model, bringing some of the our way. In fact, if you look at our identity logo, has the what is the you know anyway everyone who comes to our institute asks what is your logo about, and we have to be right. So that's why we go and look it up. How we do this.
Yeah, I'm going to continue with you because I'm coming this side. Okay. First point is I'm very, very glad that you've given diverse perspectives to this question of why should we see it now. Starting with the living versus giving by Professor Krishnamurti, the idea of the Gurukula and the possible implications of the Gurukula in the modern context by Vijay sir, then Professor Vijay Rao talking of the wisdom template that deserves for revisiting and reviving. We're going to the thermodynamics analysis of energy and what's happening to the source, the reservoir, and the sink, and what processes we must get into by Kishan, and your own idea of decolonizing the Eurocentric. In fact, I would strongly suspect, I think even in our earlier conversation we have discussed this, are we intellectually independent? We are politically independent, no question about it. Economically, we better be interdependent. There's no question of independence, the true sense of the word independence. But intellectually, are we different? Are we still having some subconscious, states which aren't really constructive for us? I'll start with that question because it has a lot to do with the seeding of Indian wisdom. What do you feel? Where are we?
Definitely this is a big challenge because colonization also supposed to, change this whole mindset that our systems were weaker and this is better and so on, right? And if you see, actually, when I look at the reactions of people had when they interacted, say, white skin people, so on, I could see that the big change of confidence of our systems and our own ability to take and so on, it should happen in the 1990s. I still recall when we were small kids, when the old people, oh, when the kids were there, it was better, now people are messing up, this kind of stuff. And also, if any guy, if you're in a forum and a white guy made a statement, everyone was taking us. You could not question it. This thing. I think the big shift I see in terms of the confidence that since started in the 90s, right? So it's work in progress. But I think there is a lot that last similar years. Getting out of that colonial mindset and then building on our own systems, and but still the foundation is the Eurocentric.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer because you're noticing that we have begun our journey, but perhaps it is time that we shook hands and accelerated and gathered momentum and accelerated along. This comes to an interesting point that Kishan you touched upon a little while earlier, and it's related to all the points made by our other panelists also. See, one is the Indian wisdom, traditional wisdom knowledge systems that looked at what's known as the spiritual journey of the human soul. Something which you alluded to, of the escape velocity, get out of this, go to the infinite, etc. The other is what we call the Laukika. Here I am on earth, I have my life, I'm conscious, I need food, I need water, I need air. Are you getting it, sir? I need comforts. So somewhere down the line, in fact, I will extend what Professor Krishnamurti and Professor Vijay also said to some extent, Vijay Rao also, is somewhere down the line, have we got mixed up with these two? Are we really clear about what we are doing? That I can live my life normally in the world while pursuing my other, my own self, my journeys for the self. Where are we?
I think we're a little bit confused because Indian, which is my take, I may be wrong, some people may get angry, frank and forthright. In India, the education is very top down. So the top guy tells what is to be done, goes down. So that stifles creativity and openness. When I went to join my PhD program in Drexel, I went to my professor Nicholas Nansky and Richard Cohen. Sir, I'm Kishan, I've come to join the PhD. Hey, don't call me sir. That's a British construct. It doesn't gel in the US. Call me Nick. Richard said, call me Dick. Can we imagine that in India? You have to keep serving the guys all the time, otherwise the guy is gonna get you.
How do they call you in JNTU? Tell me that.
No, I'll come to that.
Okay,
No. Let me tell you. It's a British construct. They're still following that. Have to get out of that. I tried that to be, instead of this, I tried to be this. In JNTU with the students, I went to a pub with them. I'm not a kid. Hey, sabut latte way. Then it becomes, they take advantage. So you gotta be this way. Can be this way, can be this way, you gotta be this way. So where you have to draw a line, you have to draw a line. And kids take advantage of you if you are easy to say you have a deadline, I want this report by tomorrow. So that's it. See, the issue what I found, my observation, the US, the demeanor is very casual. The intent is very extreme. It says a deadline, you bloody well follow. India, the appearances are very, very serious. The intent is casual. That's where we lose out. And especially in government system, that's the
No, that's a fantastic argument. That demeanor versus intent. That's a beautiful line of thought.
Then one more thing, I think when you want science tech, you want a product of. You don't want the absolute truth. That's given and what the guy says is the absolute truth. Follow it. But as you said, you want food and you want things to move. Their creativity has to step in. So you have to give some leeway for the guy to think himself. So don't be this way, this may be this way, this may work. May work. Again, one more thing I found. My professor was from Princeton, poet. In class, he asked him some question in statistical thermodynamics. He couldn't answer. Gee, I wish I knew the answer. Okay, I look it up and let you know tomorrow in class. But in India, I find many professors take it as an affront. Hey, this guy asked me a very uncomfortable question. I'm going to get him. I'll see that he gets less marks and I'm going to fail him. I mean, they think they're walking, talking encyclopedia, they know everything under that. So that's another mistaken notion that we got to come out of. Maybe we're all big people and we don't do that. A lot of people still do that. They take it as a personal affront on their ego or whatever. Unless you come out of these mindsets, I don't think we can.
I wish you were here in the morning at the example. Because Professor Sita Ram was exactly commenting on this, saying that, look, it's high time, don't keep looking at AICT for referencing. No, he is explicitly speaking. He says, look, you empower your staff or your academic councils and you tell us that if we find it logically correct, we will support you, definitely. But don't keep expecting answers from us all the time. So, from that point he made.
To some extent, we have decolonized. We don't wear the robes for our boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely.
So hot and it's not worth wearing. So we wear kurta, pajama and something. We have to declutter our mind. We have done that. We're doing it. Also, I think we should be wearing pant and shirt if you want to really decolonize.
AJ came in pretty cool during that session. Yes, I think I never read coat suit and not even full shirt.
But you may be mistaken. If you go to some hotel, you wear a suit and go, they treat you different.
Yeah, that's true.
You wear kurta pajama, they treat you different. That's true. You wear chappal. It's there in your mind. You gotta get rid of it. How I don't know, but it's gonna take that.
It's a thing. Some clubs they don't allow you to clothes. In some of the clubs, I don't know how it's in Hyderabad. You know better, but I know in Madras it's pretty bad. You can't go. Like if I go like this, they say, sorry sir, it's not our dress code. They say thank you very much. He said also, what do you think? The whole idea of decolonizing Eurocentric perspectives, building our own paradigms, self-respect, self-confidence. I mean, that's the theme that's coming.
Yeah. I think decolonization is a state of mind, essential. Now, this is becoming more and more visible, right? But in the past, when our country was colonized for centuries, we saw peaks of creativity even then. Kabir Das was there, Shankaracharya was there, Annamacharya was there.
This was purely philosophical.
No, sorry, Jagdish Chandra Bose was there, S.N. Bose was there. See, with these people came and did whatever they did, most creative things in a colonized framework. So it is a state of mind,
Absolutely.
right?
That's a good point.
If we decolonize, I think the state of mind would largely be sanitized. And probably we'll have a larger population doing more creative things. That's the hope. It's not necessarily an assured thing, right? So even if you fully decolonize your attire, your books, your curriculum, your way of this, that, and all, but if the mind is still bonded, no hope. So it's a question of mind. And the question of mind need not be contextual. It could be more or less independent. That's the nature of the beauty of mind. You can be in turbulent times still be doing very, very creative work. So I think if we start realizing that our mind processes could be extremely independent of the context, then I think very, very beautiful things will happen. Right? Einstein did in a context where there was no real physics going on around him. See where I'm going. So I think we need to create an ecosystem where we should separate out the mind related creative activities from its context. People may be suffering, there may be poverty, there may be a lot of violence, but still we should be able to create ecosystem where mind can look at very beautiful things. Unless we create that ecosystem, I think we will not really hit high points. It should be a robust ecosystem, independent of who rules the country and what kind of wars are going on in the world and what kind of societal frictions are going on. Independent of that, if you are able to create an ecosystem where we can discover both the Buddhas, Einsteins, SN Boses, in spite of all turbulence, then I think there is some hope that we will do things much better and Indian template can help them.
Sir, I'm very happy that you cited some stellar examples, especially from the courses, and in fact, very often we underplay those with respect to radio. You know that, right?
Yes,
Yes. It's very, very sad where the Western mind is unable to accept certain truths because they emanated from India. It's very sad. But I'm very happy because you pointed to some terrific examples. I hope they inspire everybody. Because Ramanujan was a part of that.
Absolutely.
You can't talk of some.
And now it is probably so bad that we can't even discover a Ramanujan sitting here.
I've said we were joking during last
Our
time.
system is so bad that we can't identify very, very creative minds because there will be some dots outside the curve somewhere. And that is the problem.
Sir, during lunch time we were discussing, Professor Pillai, Jayamar, and I were just talking. If Ramanujan applies for postgraduate admission, you won't get it.
You will not even screen him.
Sir, you won't pass the screening.
So I think that we need to do some fundamental changes in our ecosystem and do it well and soon enough so that we can start seeing the effects. If we simply go in a linear fashion towards a particular Western template or a particular Indian template, that will not help. We need to keep reinventing ourselves all the time. And that creativity is innate to India, I think.
Sir, I've already told you, you're a natural system speaker. I've told you that you're a natural attack. And I'm really proud that we have a person like you. But it's also taking us back to the points that were made earlier by Satya, right? Ishan also. Sir, is there a real need? I'm coming to that. It's a question for all of you. So I'm first members of the audience of very first people. Is there a need that we should see the Indian traditional wisdom faster and deeper within our nation first before going outside? Or should it be a parallel process with some proportional work?
I must also agree with Satya that we must be very careful about what is Indian traditional wisdom. If we start seeing a lot of pseudo things in our science and technology, that will do a lot more harm, right? So we must be very careful about what is Indian knowledge system. Indian knowledge system is a philosophy. It is not technical jugglery. It is not doing some voodoo game. It's a philosophy. It's an innate philosophy. It's a philosophy that will rejuvenate you. And with that, you can do many things outside. Right? So we must be very, very careful about Indian knowledge system. I think Indian knowledge system is a very, very heavily abused word, if I may say so. Because many people don't even understand what that is.
A fetish for that.
Yeah, I think it is serving some other purpose which I think is not very true, very correct. So we must be very, very careful about it. And now the thing is, how do we proceed from there? How do we marry Indian knowledge system, so-called Indian knowledge system, with the current template of technology and innovations? I think this is a very relevant question to ask.
That was before.
Yeah. So you can see all the glories of methods of science, right? It's all visible. Methods of science has done wonderful things for the world, including India, right? But is there another method other than method of science which is also useful for discoveries? This is the question that I think our ancient seekers asked us if there was no method of science. I think there is another method of acquiring the system, and that is from within the system, right? And when these two sort of merge and meld, perhaps we can do things much better. One can go into the details of it, but I don't know whether we have time for it. But it is possible to meld both. And I think our current education system must work towards that. If we can do that, where we not only look at the physical world in all its glory, but also start letting children to think about themselves, about their own innate capabilities, and also discover one's own self. Discovering one's own self not necessarily is a spiritual thing. It is something about realizing what one is capable of and what one is not capable of. That reality compass is extremely useful so that everybody need not go to engineering. One's own innate capabilities, one's own innate tendencies, I think this is very important. That I think our template teaches us because you can spend time with yourself. And that template plus external glory that we all see in technology and innovation, both of them can be combined. I think that will be very, very powerful combined. It's possible.
I witnessed some, I like what you said now, I witnessed some very kind of, I would say, disturbing, may not be the perfect word, kind of positions that people take. But I also agree with you. Sometimes somebody makes a statement, oh, we knew this 10,000 years ago. You know, I'm sorry, I'm using college word. People get pissed off when you say that. You know? I mean, what the hell are you talking? So we have some, there's real danger extending our status, you know, with some blind faith. And I think you touched upon that very beautifully. And I'm very happy that you brought in this whole idea of an alternate method of inquiring in this. So not necessarily only science, but look at other ways of it. You know, that's also part of the Indian wisdom. It is also a crucial time to realize that because look at the narrative now. In the years to come, entire storytelling of human history, human happening, will be done by technology, artificial intelligence type of narratives. Right? So far in the history of mankind, the storytelling was done by human being. Now human being has to take a side step, and the artificial intelligence will do the narration, will do the storytelling for the years to come. And this beast can do on its own, on the go, as it becomes more and more intelligent. So this is the first time in the history of mankind there is a dichotomy. Human being is being watched and monitored and coordinated by a non-human inorganic thinking apparatus. Inorganic. Inorganic. We are all organic. We are organic in thinking. We are very good in adaptations, but we are extremely slow. But that inorganic machinery that is evolving now is very fast and does many things for very rapid success. So it's a very interesting twist in the tale that is emerging now in the human history where we have to really take a step back and think about it. And that is where Indian template will come very, very handy. And if you can do that in our Indian ecosystem through education, I think we will have a sober but very innovative and creative mindset that can also sanitize the rest of the world if we can do our act together very well. I hope I'm making a point which others I understand that, sir. We definitely heard this. See, the point, if I can infer from what you're saying, is first clean up your life. But then let's talk about what others should be doing. That is the message I'm getting from. I hope I'm not wrong.
absolutely.
I'll come to PJ and say, sir, now that you have heard this, and you've been into AI also, now, where do you think AI is fitting into this whole business of Indian trends?
This is all getting very heavy for me, especially for some reading some other plane. Yeah, I think before coming to what you asked, the Indian, I mean, we are at least here, we are all in the world of science and technology. And there is nothing like Indian science that different from global science or Western science, methods, etc. Okay, so which means.
I agree with you, but in case when you look at the history of science, there is a flavor of science.
Yes, yes.
The kind of questions they ask, the kind of things.
Yes.
That flavor.
But in science, the goal is to understand nature, and then technology is to somehow replicate the useful thing, the artifact. And there, mathematics will remain mathematics wherever it's done, similarly physics or whatever. Yet, there is a problem when we all learn the same science in a particular way. Sitting here, my colleague, senior colleague, Professor Ignarana, I remember 20 years ago, or maybe 25 years ago, he says, the problem is there is this, forum is in AI, or this area. He says all the professors sitting in, University of Wisconsin or University of Minnesota all study the traffic issues of Chicago, that data they have. The problem is people sit in IIT Madras and study traffic issues of Chicago, not Madras. Okay? Whatever reason, maybe data is not repeating. There may be individual excuses for the day or the week. But if that's what we do for year and year and year out, then we are not serving ourselves. Okay? And this is the science is the same. The method techniques are the same. What the mindset? No, I completely agree with Professor Vijay Rao saying colonization or decolonization is a mindset. And there is a whole philosophical statement I heard from somewhere that if you to remove a cloud from your life, remove it from your mind. Okay. So if we remove it from our mind, it will happen. But that really results in opening our eyes and seeing what is happening. The same science, same technology can work in our setting, and by applying it in our setting, now in the context that you are sitting in, what you mentioned earlier, the science that required to solve the sanitation problems of Hyderabad or Dharavi, slum, or the most challenging area, is very different from what is required in Chicago or elsewhere. And by trying to solve problems of our society, technologies and underlying science, new science will get generated, which will definitely enrich our society, but also it will be new science. New means it will be new enough to be respected and recognized because it comes from real observation. It's a new science or a new technology. That is what is we have to inculcate in the last decade plus. There is a lot of recognition for startup. Yes, a lot of it is just hype and hope and people, everybody doing something. But one definite change that I personally see there is when these startups, million startups, whatever you say here, our startups are, at least in the last 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, are looking at problems of our society. Okay? There were days in which, the famous startups of India are Infosys and places like that, 30 years, 40 years ago. Unfortunately, they don't have the luxury or they don't look at our problems for whatever reason. I'm not blaming them, but that's the times and the needs of our and they did very well by solving others' problems. At least they improved our society economically. But startups are increasingly and almost dominantly looking at our problem, and that's a very good problem. It's a very good thing. Using the same technology, there's global technology to solve our problem. And when we solve our problem, we see the global technology has been twisted. Let's call it Indian way, or maybe Hyderabad way, with some other way. And that will result in and deeper and better understanding. And if we free ourselves of the mindset that everything has to come from somewhere else, we can also generate it. So also will amplify that feeling that we can generate our own knowledge and then not because we are superior or inferior, because we have these problems. I suppose others have those problems. Our problems are different and we will solve them, and that also worthy exercise, worthy knowledge, good knowledge. So that is what I would think should happen. Professor Rao also said a talk was about it all. Everybody should be, all children should be made to think for themselves what is it that they want, rather than what is it others are thinking what you should be. That's the most important thing. But if you can crack that problem, you have solved it. But unfortunately, we are going in the wrong direction. Coaching for entrance exams start in class 6, if not class 5. I mean, it's going backwards rather than forward. Everybody you ask, every kid you ask them, they say, oh, I was good at music, I was good at singing. So why don't you do it? No, I stopped in class 8, class 9, etc. So this is the, I mean, so we are going in the wrong direction. Now regarding I think it's a very good perspective that is put forward. This whole dominance of this generative AI, it is just generating content whether it has any basis or not, has this danger of dominating. If you let it loose, maybe in 5 years, 80% of the written or whatever content available in the world may be created by them. Okay, which is from some small training that it's a very dangerous situation that if you let it go, that won't make sense. Until they go, it cannot make sense. But future generations will see 80% such content and 20% or maybe like 10%, maybe 1% of the so-called original content. And these companies themselves now, I understand from them that they have ran out of content to train on. It literally ran out. Everything that is in 0-1 format in the world is being used by them. Now they are looking at they are funding it. It is like new BPO opportunity kind of thing. Is you ask people, let people sit and talk whatever you want, but normal conversation. Record it, convert the text, etc. Because this captures innate human conversation, some thoughts, rather than some mechanical thought which is ultimately AI is doing some mechanical thought. So this such content, human generated original content is so it ran out. We ran out at the rate of production. We are very slow organic beings, so the rate of production is far slower than what these big corporations of AI wishes for. So they are looking at how can we generate it. Software is very slow problem. But the point is, original human generated content will be dwarfed by such things if we don't check on them, or at least we say which is on human generated. I don't even know how to do that in the future because we all carry these devices generating content. And when we search for old search is now turned into AI search, if you get the paragraph, it looks very nice and good, but we are slowly getting sucked into it. How do we, I don't know what Indian thinking, old thinking can help the whole society get out of it, not an Indian problem. Like, there's very few of it. The AI companies today are AI is dominated by maybe 4 companies, 5 companies right, in the world, and they are all American. And the only country which is trying to challenge that is China. And they are, I mean, without going into the political aspect, they are probably getting into trouble because of their challenging also that world or in the dependence on one country or dependence on technology generated by one country has never been so strong. That one country is America. Today, even 25 years ago, there were things that something were made in Europe, something made it's all going disappearing. And especially with the AI, which is so dominated by American way of thinking. I mean, Toronto is a strong place in AI. Cambridge is a strong AI with AI geography. But Cambridge is strong because Google is it. Toronto is strong because Google is a company. So ultimately, it's not Toronto or Cambridge or Bangalore or Hyderabad anymore. This is a very serious question. I have no idea. I don't know what is the Indian way of solving it, but the world has to solve it. The idea of who controls this future narrative, full narrative, historical narrative or technology narrative, and that is getting very, very central. You raised a very difficult question, which I have to pose to the question. Okay. Sir, when you look at the rise of the way of life,
I'm going to look back. In what ways do you feel that Indian traditional knowledge systems and wisdom can be used to see to it that we gain some degree of confidence in the law? The Armageddon that we had, that's facing us that BJ does not. Are we really facing Armageddon?
So, let me take a little back. When we say our tradition, our Vedic Upanishad or any of these thoughts, fundamentally, what is it different from what happened at that time? The world always poses problems, we always solve something. Fundamentally, what is but the total, in my opinion, the total template is very. If you look at the Western thought, the way idea of doing this, there is a problem, I find a solution. The Western mindset is, I am the one who's doing it. This is my solution, and I need the knowledge, power, right? If I have a thought, it is my thought. I own it. What was the traditional or the Vedic or Hindu way of doing it, or our traditional way of doing it? We don't own the thought. We think that this is part of the. There's no IP. There's no IP. There's no part of thing that I own this, right? And the person who makes the thought traditionally are not supposed to look for power, look for money, look for monetization. And you take this thought and over the time build a confidence that this thought, this idea, this solution will only be used for the purpose of saving, Yes. If you don't do that, the idea is that if I don't think of this thought, somebody else will think. That's not big. If I don't solve the problem, somebody else will think. But unless we find a way that the solution becomes a way that helps the society, that way that brings betterment to the society, that is my opinion fundamentally between our olden way of doing things and the modern way of doing things. If I'm a teacher, I'm supposed to get money. I'm supposed to get a pride. I'm supposed to get the papers accepted and headlines. The old curriculum was not that. The teacher was supposed to be not making money at all. In fact, he's supposed to be living on the societal arms. Right? The students come because they love to learn from him. They're willing to put up in the most harsh conditions and to make a betterment of how I can dress, how I can live, or how I can make myself better was not really the main thought. The main thought was to contemplate how to make understand the nature in full depth. May have succeeded to some extent. Western world has succeeded to a lot more extent. No. For us to know that everything in 10th of year wrong. Because the tools are not there. You could not know. You could guess to some extent maybe, but there is no proof for any of the things. Modern science builds on proof, on getting equipment, getting measurements that can repeat it. So, of course, that is an intellectual part that has become better. But fundamentally, what is the change? The change is this. That today, if I create a method of duplicate reaction, I don't have three groups of people use it. How they going to use it? How they going to kill anybody? How they going to do it? As a scientist, I'm coming to my paper in here and saying that yes, I have done it. Whether it is Einstein, whether it is Feynman, or whether it is the most topest scientist of the planet, Oppenheimer, doesn't matter. The perspective is this. I don't care what happens to me, how my knowledge is. Fundamentally, our tradition was different. It's not the dress, it's not the wearing the banyan and the tilaka. It is the thought. I think that way fundamentally we are lost. We are forgotten that, we are that. I don't know whether it can ever be that. You may solve a air problem today, some bio problem tomorrow, or some other problem. And it's not that we all have intellectual powerhouse. Everybody has equal mind. The genetics and biochemical reactions are going to be the same whether you are born in US or California or India or that doesn't matter. You put an effort, all of us will, society will come up with a solution. But the question is, what to do with that solution? How do we relate to that solution to us as a man? I think that is fundamentally different. I don't know if we can ever go back. For me, that is the basic change that.
Thank you. We had two rounds, and I thought it would be fair given the time that we can open up for probably one or two questions to the panelists. Anybody from the audience? Yeah, Jay Master. Irrepressible mind already, sir. Please, go ahead, sir. Get it for
First of all, I want to congratulate the excellent observations made by the distinguished panelists and the one. My question is relating to the relevance of the Indian wisdom, Indian wisdom to the present Indian society. Has been mentioned. How is it relevant? What we can make? Artificial intelligence, scalability, mental health, inclusive growth. The Prime Minister mentioned a couple of days back, describing the last 11 years, and corruption-free society, and so on. So that the student gets the confidence. This IKS course I am taking, this Indian wisdom is not just philosophy, it's not just a story, moral story, but it has tremendous relevance to me, to my present society, and not only India and to the globe. First, we must be successful in India because the tide of the thought is relevant to India and also to the globe.
Correct.
As one of the professors said, must make it relevant to India and then subsequently. Thank you.
So I think the question is straight, sir. Anybody like to answer? How do we make Indian traditional knowledge systems relevant to present day, where there are clear objectives of inclusive growth and sustainability? Anybody? I would request anyone.
So I don't think our problem is to make more money, to make more jobs. Our problem is different. I think we have to solve that. Everything else will come by opinion. Because, a few years ago, 1,000 rupees was enough. Today, 10 lakhs is not enough. Tomorrow, 100% not enough. If you go after making more and more money, there is not enough in the world. That's very, very clear. Everybody wants to buy the most fastest car in the world, the largest world. It is not there. The world is not there for sustainable. Of course, you can do some recycling, you can do some regeneration, but the much more domain is required.
You're passing. That's fine. Because you raised the issue and it is a concept. Just the Indian was pointing out the something with several finger part. This whole business of where you are looking at it a bit small. But some of the developers are we wish we didn't. Today they are thinking why they are doing it. So it's a very relevant question you ask. How do we adopt or use Indian traditional Indian knowledge system for current day problems? This is the question, and this is the most relevant question. And let's not beat about the bush here. Current framework is acquire as much technology as possible and run with it, and make as much wealth as possible in as quick a time as possible. This seems to be the current framework. Indian knowledge system will give you a break point here. You have to take a pause, think about the values associated with utilization and adaptation of certain technologies, and our children, how they are using their time, how they are acquiring their abilities. Can we reorient them towards better value systems? After all, we cannot simply live by wealth and technology alone. I think this is where Indian traditional knowledge system will come and say, take a pause now, don't run with it. Just take a stall and think about what you are doing. It is a reality check. Indian traditional knowledge system will provide you the reality check of what one person is doing with oneself or with others. And this reality check is important.
There is no fixed recipe for it. It is all do-it-yourself exercise. Do-it-yourself exercise is the best procedure that Indian knowledge system has given. So everybody has to realize that. What is that I'm doing? Where am I running? What is my real purpose? And what is that I'm capable of for myself and for the society? I think these are the reality checks. And I think in the Western system, these reality checks are missing. I'm sorry how to say it. It's a mad rush there, right? So I think our value system is somewhat sober. We can preserve environment much better than the Westerners because innately we are less in destroying the resources. Innately, it is there in us. I think we should practice more of that. We should teach more of the to our children, etc., etc. We are not so much greedy innately, but of course, these are all changing now. Innately, we are more inner happiness centric, less on externalia. Innately, but that may be changing. But we have to bring that back. We are using 1.7 times the resources of the earth as I speak now. Soon it will go 2 times. There is no resource available. So I think India can provide that break point, that inflection point where you can slow down, apply a speed breaker. Sorry, take a break now. And think about yourself and position yourself more intelligently. I think this is Indian knowledge system in the truest sense, which we should be able to teach to our children in the dining table, in the at-home system, in the classrooms, etc., etc. I think these are not impossible to do it. These are possible to do it, except that we need to steer the conversations in those directions. This will bring in some balancing, in the mad rush chaos that we see around us. I think what I said makes sense to me. I'm convinced about it. And if you feel that it is true, I think it's something that we should do. So,
In fact, leaders are actually reflecting what he said. It's all clear, fine. And actually, the answer is very interesting. Basically, what he's saying: pause, take a deep breath, reflect hard, and before you make the next move. I think that's the thing. And use your innate strengths of sustainability. Any last concluding words?
See, I am a diabetic. I take insulin 3 times before each. I got tired of the allopathy medicine. I said, let me try some other alternatives. So my friend gave me herbal medicine. I'm pretty comfortable with it for the past 2 years. I'm totally off all the allopathic medicines. And that guy said, don't give my name to others because it's a hobby. He's a financial consultant. He's not a medicine guy.
Yeah, tell me his address.
Have the idea. So I'm off. I'm using traditional medicine. I asked him, how do you do it? He said, it's in the Atharva Veda, so final points he finds out when he has given. And he says, please don't make it public. He's not in a hurry. He's a very simple guy. I'm fine with it. And he gives me, I have thyroid problem. And he says, that's Murmus, ancient Murmus. I'm doing that. It's not helping me as of now, but hopefully over the It doesn't cost me any money. It's free. You go to a doctor, it charges 2,000 per visit. So, and this we are so sold to allopathy. Those guys put down Ayurveda and everything. Mercury, arsenic, and all that. So it's a narrative. So you are comfortable. I'm comfortable with it. So I'm trying it out. That's my way of saying, trying to be comfortable.
Using traditional Indian wisdom for current comfort and hopefully longevity too. I wish you a long life.
I don't know whether my kids will be able to take care of me.
Let's not
The life is so stressful. The jobs are not so stable these days.
But good. Satya, any? No, the question. Yeah, sure. Fine. Is there any other questions, please?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Huh? You have. So let him finish his question. Let me see. Just for time.
So my question is the lead of our the steps to be taken by current generation. I studied in 10 plus 2 Telugu medium. Now all the colleges schools disappear, which is in regional language. And we observe that necessity always drive whatever we want to do. Now education system is changed. Everyone opting for AI, ML, computer science, traditional, mechanical, everything is now all of the colleges they roll out or they stop these traditional courses and there is no department like civil engineering also. Similarly, in Indian system, I think I feel the requirement of ancient wisdom is also going out because we don't think that that's necessary. So can we make our generation it is necessary kind of thing. So I ask you views on this.
I can give you a very quick answer. You know, many of us learn only when we get hit hard on the button. We don't change our life. Unfortunately, it seems to have got out of that. Get hit really slapped hard and then you wake up. Oh my God. So that's happening. I'm sure they may not have very different answers to that. Basically. But again, I'll revert back to what question. Question of the answer. It's here. Which is exactly elaborated upon directly by the.
But in mass level, it is very difficult.
I'm telling you, the answer is unless we get liquid. I'm sharing something with you. On December 24th of 2004, had I gone to Marina Beach in Madras and said, in 15 minutes a tsunami is coming, but is it a new fish? I hope you got it. They would have known what the hell it was. In 20 minutes the game was over. Please understand. How people are aware. Oh, we didn't even know that there's something called tsunami. So it looks like it's ingrained in us. It's really hard and then wake up. But unfortunately, you may have to wake up in the next birth.
It's like a pandemic we have to face.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But that seems to be the observation. Anyway. Yeah, sure. Srikant. Yeah. Srikant, Michael come. Incidentally, with some pride, Vijay sir, we were talking about this. Srikant was nominated among the top 100 IITs of all IITs. Okay, so that's actually fantastic. Yeah.
Actually, 3 months ago, I was going back and forth with Elon Musk on Twitter, and I said reflections, and this because we've done lots of things. So I said AI question mark ER colon IA. So I said, he said if then else. Okay.
So he's left a cryptic cruise.
AI question mark ER colon IA. And some of it is in Mr. Rao's things. As explained. Can I explain it?
Yeah, please.
AI is there. I'm sure all of us are. AI is there. Okay. If AI is put pause and read here, then you are on a good show. Else, it's just intellectual motivation. That's all.
That's a good one. That was a good one. Thanks a lot. So I think we're running out of time. So namaste. Thank you very much for all of you who are there. I hope you enjoyed the interesting practice. I'm really grateful. I think we have a formal, the presentation and the vote of thanks. Thank you very much.
I must say, it feels like a truly enlightening and thought-provoking address by the panel. We respectfully request Dr. Srikant Sundarajan to felicitate Professor P.J. Narayan.
Traditional Indian wisdom.
We humbly seek Dr. K.S. Venugopal Rao to felicitate Professor T. Kishan Kumar Reddy.
Marketing and thermodynamics
We respectfully urge Professor B. N. Rajshekhar Pillai to felicitate Professor B. Jagdishwar Rao.
We now submit a request Professor K. Narayana to felicitate Professor M. Krishna. Now, may we ask Professor Shailajan and Professor Munawar to felicitate Dr. Kalini Satyanarayan.
We have the honor of delivering the vote of thanks, which means trying to summarize proof of the Indian philosophy in under just 2 minutes without sounding like an over-enthusiastic WhatsApp forward. First and foremost, our heartfelt gratitude to our illustrious panelists who haven't just shared insights but opened doorways to a civilization, wisdom that's not just ancient, profoundly ageless. Professor Krishnamurti reminded us that the philosophical mindset isn't abstract. It brings back us to life, grounding us in deeper meaning. Professor Narayanan elevated our understanding of the Guru, showing how true guidance transcends language and how the Indian side of wisdom flows beyond form. Professor B.J. Rao powerfully declared that Bharat is wisdom, not emotional outcry, but centuries of grounded inquiry rooted in dharma and true questioning. Professor T.K. Krishna Kumar Reddy wove thermodynamics or thermodynamics into Bhagavad Gita, warning us how high-grade energy is being consumed in the name of GDP, and the real growth is inward as religion and energy ascends towards. And Professor Satyanarayanan brought it full circle, reminding us that education in India is not a transaction; it's a journey towards realization, towards moksha sagar.
To our moderator, you steer today's session like a skilled Mahabharata charioteer, balanced, graceful, and ensuring no one veered off into the Sanskrit monologue without subtitles. To an organizing team, your execution was so smooth, one could almost believe Ma Saraswati herself was on your WhatsApp group. A big round of applause to our wonderful audience. You stay engaged, proud about the writing, and only peek into your phones occasionally. Your presence truly brought energy and warmth to this intellectually enriching afternoon. Let us leave today not just with notes, but with nudges. Nudges to revive the essence of Vidya in our classrooms, to seed Indian thought where it belongs, not on pedestals, but in practice.
So once again, thank you all with folded hands and open heart and the slight fear that I might be cut off if I speak too long. I request everybody to stand up so that we can have at least one group. Can I request all the packets to come a little closer so we can for us?